Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. We talk about Blu-rays here. My name's Brian, and for this episode, we are talking about Imprint films again. Imprint, of course, a subsidiary of the ViaVision Entertainment label in Australia, and their discs are all region-free, as far as I've been able to tell thus far. So just wanted to put that at the top. I got a lot to talk about here, so I'm going to dive in. We'll start with what is probably my favorite set in this group, and that's the Film Focus. They've been doing these fun Film Focus sets. I haven't gotten all of them. There's a Gene Hackman set. There's an upcoming Marlon Brando set. And I've got two of them to talk about in this particular episode. So we'll start with the one that I'm really into, and that's the Film Focus George Peppard. So this is 4 films from actor George Peppard. All of them, well, from his 60s and 70s output. And I find him to be a pretty fascinating actor that I will admit freely my interest has jumped up considerably in the last couple years, since 2019-ish or so, because, well, he's gotten a lot more releases on Blu-ray, and there's been a lot of his films that I never saw prior to this that now I'm getting to see. This particular set includes 3 films that were previously released by Kino Lorber, and I will sort of show you the difference between those releases. 2 by Kino Lorber, 1 by Sony. But anyway, I think it all started when I saw a photo of somebody had taken a picture of the outside of Paramount Studios back in early 2019 probably, when Tarantino was, starting to dress LA for shooting Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and one of the big posters they put up outside of Paramount to show that it was 1960s Paramount was a movie called Pendulum, which is included in this set, and it is a cop movie starring George Peppard. And then, of course, George Peppard comes up in the conversation when the Rick Dalton character is talking about the 3 Georges. Peppard, Chikaris, and Maharis, I think, were the 3 Georges. And I just forgotten how prolific he was in the 60s. And I actually did kind of a little research on him and found out, that he had been working prior to Breakfast at Tiffany's, but that was sort of a big takeoff point for him in the early 60s. And he was super hot, and I think I saw, he married Elizabeth Ashley, who he co-starred with in a movie at one point, but she talks about some of his history, some stuff maybe he didn't want to go on the record with, but basically that he wanted to get a ranch to be more financially stable, a cattle ranch, and in order to do that, he made some kind of a multi-million-dollar 5-picture deal with, I think, Universal, and I think some of the movies here are part of that deal. But they ended up not doing particularly well, and I think it hurt his career. And anyway, he just was doing a lot of movies, and there's a lot that I like. One that's not included in this set, but was part of that deal, is Rough Night in Jericho, with he and Dean Martin. Really great Western Kino put out. But let's talk about this set. So you got your great, hard box that it comes in. And then we've got 4 movies here. And I'll go in order of, in order of preference. The movies that my favorite in the set is PJ. We'll start with that. That is from 1968. And it stars Peppard as a down-on-his-luck private eye, PJ Detweiler. And he is hired to protect the mistress of a millionaire from the attacks of his client's wife and greedy family. And he's actually going to get sort of sucked into a little bit of a trap. And the cast is really interesting. It includes a lot of cool folks. Raymond Burr being chief among them as sort of the millionaire. Gail Honeycutt as the mistress. But you also see Brock Peters, Wilfred Hyde-White, Colleen Gray, Susan St. James, Severin Darden, who I'm a big fan of. It's a neat movie in that sense, but it's just a good down on his luck detective movie. And we open with him getting a pretty cheap $250 for framing this guy's wife so that he can get a more favorable divorce settlement. Basically, he walks in the room with her in a motel, and they run in and take pictures and beat him up, and so it's a very shady start for this guy. He's very much not in a great place, and I kind of like Peppard as that guy. It seems like he kind of became that guy, a little bit down on his luck, before he would get his hit TV shows like Banachek, and then in the 80s, that's the 70s, in the 80s, of course, the A-Team, which is, I think, Hannibal Smith is the most known role for him, which I find fascinating. But it's been great to dig back into these older films. So this one's already come out from Kino Lorber, and so this is the Kino Lorber disc. Now, we do a little comparison here. These are both brand new 2K. I think it's the same scan. And the Kino includes a commentary with film historians Howard S. Berger and Steve Mitchell, which they've ported over to this imprint disc. It also includes another commentary with film historian author Toby Rohn, and something called A Man of Many Phases, The Early Films of John Gillerman, a featurette with author, screenwriter C. Courtney Joyner, which I very much enjoyed. So this definitely beats out the old Kino disc. And again, John Gillerman, a really great director who worked with Peppard a few times. He did the Blue Max with him, which is great, really great World War I flying ace on the German side kind of movie. But I like Gillerman a lot, and this is definitely a part of the reason that this is one of my favorites in the set, is Gillerman does a nice job with it. Has a jazzy score that almost sounds like the Odd Couple theme, but it's a little different. Anyway, very solid and nice extras for that one. Then, of course, we have Pendulum, the 1969 film. And this one, he plays a cynical Washington, D.C. police captain who sort of risks his life to catch a rapist murderer played by Robert F. Lyons. Really great scumbag performance. But he's set free when the civil liberties attorneys prove in the Supreme Court that he was never read his rights, or that basically a confession was given, and that confession led to evidence which was used in court. The confession itself wasn't used, but the evidence was used, and thus this guy's rights were violated, and the evidence was supposedly not to be used because it came from that search. But anyway, this has got a fun cast too. Gene Seberg plays Peppard's maybe not so faithful wife. Charles McGraw is here too. Dana Elcar. It's got an interesting group of character actors that show up. But the pendulum, obviously referring to the pendulum of justice swinging the other way when criminals are let off for this kind of stuff. So it's sort of him pursuing justice for, this guy getting off. But Bob Lyons is good as the psychopath rapist murderer in this. He plays it nicely done. This doesn't have any extras, but neither did the Sony Blu-ray, which I also have. So it's really just an even Steven match on that one. And, this is a nice cover. It's actually the same cover, basically. But so that one's really solid, enjoyable Peppard there. And then we're going to jump forward to Newman's Law, which is 1974. And this one also had a Blu-ray from Kino. Now, the trick on this one is that this has... I'm just going to do the extras first. This has a commentary by film critic and film historian Peter Tungette, which is not included on this disc, but this disc includes a new audio commentary by film historian Steve Mitchell and producer-screenwriter Cyrus Voris, and something called Richard's Law, the films of Richard T. Heffron, an interview with director Jeff Burr, who did things like Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, and From a Whisper to a Scream, and some other stuff. And he's a big fan of this director, Richard T. Heffron, who was sort of a TV guy in the 70s, but did some interesting movies. And this one is about a hard-nosed cop, again, that's why I wanted to put it right after Pendulum, who's booted from duty after being falsely accused of extortion, and then he goes rogue to investigate an organized crime case, uncovering a conspiracy that might extend to the highest levels of his own department. So again, corruption, sort of, law not playing the way it should, as with Pendulum. But this is from the creator of Banachek, Anthony Wilson, and so that he and George Peppard were reuniting after I guess the show had finished. But he's a good tough guy cop. He's looking a little older in this, but he does a nice job. So you also get trailer and radio spots, and by the way, those are really fun for this movie. Newman's Law. It's just that kind of a fun for promotion kind of movie. So anyway, that's Newman's Law. 1080p presentation from a 2K scan. I'm guessing this is the same scan as the Kino disc. And then we get a new one. Now, this is a worldwide Blu-ray premiere, and that's why I wanted to save it for last. This is The Executioner from 1970, starring, with Peppard, Joan Collins, Keith Mitchell, and Judy Geeson, who's very cute in this. And he plays a spy named John Shea. That's Peppard in this one. Who he works for British intelligence despite being American, and he suspects one of his colleagues, maybe a double agent, and has decided that he is going to do whatever he can to get this guy. And maybe he does, maybe he kills the guy, maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong, but you have to watch the movie to find out. And so I would say it's entertaining and interesting on that level, and that I wasn't sure where it was going to go exactly until it got there at the end. And it has one of those sort of boomerang sort of narratives where it opens with a big sort of melee and then comes back around to it by the end. And I always kind of like those movies, especially when you start to see like, oh, here it comes. We're getting to the end now because here's that scene from the beginning. But yeah, this is a Blu-ray premiere, and I was happy to see it. As I said, I've been on a George Peppard kick. So I enjoyed this. This has no extras, but it is it's a 1080p high definition presentation. It looks good. It's 235-1. Again, no extras, but the combination of these films and the extras included makes for, I think, a really nice set that I really enjoyed, and I'm glad that that Imprint did. And I'm glad they're continuing to do these kind of sets. And I'll get to another one of those shortly. But before I do that, let's talk about Sam Peckinpah. And we've got a movie that's gotten a few releases in its time, and it is, despite having been critically panned when it came out, I think it was even, did it get a raspberry? I don't remember if it did, but Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, the Peckinpah film, is this new box set. Now, this is a double disc set in a hard box. It's a really nice hard box. As I said, this has come out before. This got a release from Twilight Time. Actually, 2 releases from Twilight Time, if I recall. One and then a reissue. And then it got another release from Kino, which I have right here, and which I will do a sort of a comparison to. Now, this is the Kino and this movie in this box are the 2017 HD master from a 4K scan of the original camera negative. So the scans are the same, but let's talk about this movie. It's sort of a cult classic at this point, and it was awarded 4 stars from Roger Ebert on its release, so not all critics panned it. And writing about it again in 2001, he described it as a extraordinary, true and heartfelt work by an actor who endured despite, or perhaps because of, the demons that haunted him. And it's about a piano player played by the great, of course, Warren Oates, and his lover who stumble across one last precious chance at happiness in order to claim more money than they've ever dreamed of. All they have to do is to retrieve the head of a wanted man. But the path to their ultimate escape is littered with dangers, some, of course, of the fatal variety. It's definitely one that has grown on me over time. and become one of my favorite Peckinpah films. So I don't mind it getting multiple releases. Granted, they're not doing new scans. I wish it was 4K. I'll say that, certainly. But so this set includes two things. First, you have the movie with a ton of extras. Some of them are coming from previous releases, and I'll go through what's new and what's old. Disc 1, that same scan I mentioned, it's got a new commentary by filmmaker, Peckinpah scholar Mike Siegel, and then it's got 3 more commentaries. It's got audio commentary by writer, co-producer Gordon Dawson, moderated by Nick Redman. That was done for the Twilight Time release, as was the audio commentary by Peckinpah scholars Paul Sadar, Garner Simmons, and David Weddle, also moderated by Redman. That actually might have been done for the DVD. I can't remember how far back that goes. And then, of course, there's another one by Peckinpah expert Paul Sadar and assistant to the director Katie Haber, moderated by Twilight Time producer Nick Redman, which I think was done for the Twilight Time Blu-ray, plus an isolated score track by composer Jerry Fielding, which definitely was part of the Twilight Time release. And then we have Passion and Poetry, Sam's Favorite Film, a film by Mike Siegel on the making of Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, featuring interviews with the key cast and crew, as well as 3 new things here. We've got Promoting Alfredo Garcia, which is an animated gallery featurette, and Filming Alfredo Garcia, also animated gallery featurette, behind-the-scenes photos and stuff. New Portrait of the Artist as a Dead Man, Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, and Sam Peckinpah's Last Chance, a video essay by film writer Travis Woods, who I'm friends with and am a fan of, and he's a perfect fit for this movie. Really great to see him as part of this release, and a great video essay from him. Writer's Journey, Sam Peckinpah in Mexico, an interview with documentary author Garner Simmons, and Peckinpah and Locarno, an interview with Kathy Haber about Alfredo Garcia at the Locarno Film Festival's 2015 Peckinpah retrospective. So that's all part of the first disc. And then the second disc, which is one of the things I love about Imprint, is that they will do sometimes a documentary that goes with and complements the film in question. So disc 2 is Passion and the Poetry, the Ballad of Sam Peckinpah, and this is an acclaimed feature documentary by Mike Siegel about the life and times of Sam Peckinpah, with a new 1080p definition presentation upscaled on Blu-ray for the first time. Audio commentary by Mike Siegel, Stories on a Storyteller, The Westerner, Art and Success, and Poet on the Loose, a 3-part documentary with additional interviews. This is new, Mike's Home Movies, Behind the Scenes and Retrospectives and Festivals. Also new, The Passion and the Poetry Project, a documentary about Mike Siegel and his works on Peckinpah, Sam Peckinpah, and Passion and the Poetry in Portugal, Impressions from the 2022 Portuguese Sam Peckinpah Retrospective. So a whole bunch of stuff included with this documentary itself, which is all about Peckinpah, and just a great compliment to the wonderful Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia movie, which is really solid Peckinpah. You know, like I said, one of my favorites of his films, and I'm really happy to see it get this wonderful disc. Now, in comparison, unfortunately, the Kino disc only has 2 of the commentaries, the Gordon Dawson commentary and the Paul Sadar, Garner Simmons, David Weddle, Nick Redman commentary, and nothing else as far as I know. Maybe I'm misremembering, but so it's definitely, unfortunately, beating the Kino disc in that respect. And then we have one more Peckinpah and a 4K debut, and kind of a Blu-ray too in a way, because this is Cross of Iron, and this one, Head of Alfredo Garcia, is from 1974, and Cross of Iron is from a few years later, in 1977. And this one is really interesting, and a movie that I've been meaning to see for a long time, so very excited to have this 4K. This one is based on the acclaimed novel The Wilting Flesh by Will Heinrich. Cross of Iron influenced Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards, apparently, and on release was praised by the great Orson Welles. Rolf Steiner is a German corporal. Rolf Steiner is played by Peckinpah regular James Coburn. corporal and recipient of the Iron Cross, who has grown disheartened with Hitler's war machine. When Captain Stransky assumes charge, the pair are thrown into immediate conflict. Stransky is played by Maximilian Schell. So it's kind of it's a war movie from the German side, which was very uncommon at any time, really. You got a few here and there, but this is a really interesting take for Peckinpah to do. This is a limited edition 3-disc hard box, and it's got a high-definition Blu-ray for the first time in Australia on 4K UHD. Now, I don't think it's... Maybe the 4Ks come out from someone else that I don't know of because they're not announcing it as a worldwide debut, but I wasn't aware of a 4K of Cross of Iron. I'm sure you guys out there probably knew about it, and nobody told me, but I only have an import Blu-ray of it so far. So this is a really packed special edition where we've got our 4K disc here, and then we have a Blu-ray, and I'll go into what's involved in that. On the 4K, we get a new audio commentary by filmmaker, scholar Mike Siegel again, promoting Steiner, international posters and lobby cards and more, Steiner on the set, a selection of 100 behind-the-scenes stills, filming Steiner Part 1, 100 behind-the-scenes stills from contact sheets, filming Steiner Part 2, 100 behind-the-scenes stills, more, from contact sheets, and Steiner in color, a selection of 100 color stills. So not taking up a ton of space here, but we've got some cool behind-the-scenes stuff, and the commentary is the big extras for the 4K, but the 4K looks nice. It is... it's a brand new 2023 4K restoration, and Studio Canal is involved, and they talk about like 240 hours of work went into this, and it looks better than I've ever seen it look, obviously. But what we also get is this Blu-ray, which includes 1080p presentation of that same 4K restoration, but it also includes a third disc. There's two in here. I'm sorry. The Blu-ray itself is just in this one. The Blu-rays... Sorry, I'm getting all confused. There's a Blu-ray inside the 4K. So that's got all the stuff from the 4K, and it also includes a new audio commentary, an audio commentary with film historian and author Stephen Prince, new deleted scenes, 12 minutes, animated galleries, interview with editors Tony Lawson and Michael Ellis, that's new interview with makeup artist Colin Author, the promoting Steiner behind-the-scenes stills, Steiner in color, etc. And then we get to this third disc, and this has got a 1080p presentation from a 2K scan. It's a new scan of a vintage German 35mm theatrical print presenting an authentic 70s grindhouse experience. And then this other Blu-ray also includes some other features, which is like Passion and Poetry, Sam Peckinpah's War, documentary featuring interviews with key cast and crew and behind-the-scenes footage, on-location audio interviews with Peckinpah, James Coburn, James Mason, who's in this. I've totally overstepped the cast. Maximilian Schell and David Warner, really great cast here. Kruger kisses Kern, interview with actor, director, producer Vadim Glona. Vadim and Sam, father and son, actor, director, producer Vadim Glona recalls his relationship with Peckinpah. Cutting room floor, interview with cast and crew on the cut scenes. Steiner in Japan, 2 Japanese TV commercials directed by Peckinpah and starring James Coburn. That's awesome. And Mike's Home Movies, Steiner and Kessel Meet Again. Introduction to the film by David Warner and James Coburn for the film screening in Padua, Italy in 2000. So a lot of nice extras and a nice hard box presentation for the Cross of Iron set for Peckinpah. So we get a couple nice Peckinpah releases as part of this group of titles. Very cool stuff. Then we got another one of our film focus on the actors here. We have this one is on actor Jennifer Connelly, and this is only 3 films, but it's an enjoyable 3, especially because it's got a variety of films in that it includes Career Opportunities, Waking the Dead, and House of Sand and Fog. So Career Opportunities is a big seminal film for me from 1991, directed by Brian Gordon, who would go on to work on a lot of stuff, including Freaks and Geeks, which I've always noticed. But this is his debut film. And this already had a Blu-ray from Kino. The difference I will go into in just a second. But this one is about a sort of a small-town, smooth-talking loser type played by Frank Whaley in one of his great performances as Jim Dodge, who has a lot of trouble holding down jobs, and he's getting fired at the beginning of the movie. He gets a job at Target and ends up locked in Target overnight, along with one of the daughters of one of the richest folks in this small town, Josie McClellan, played by Jennifer Connelly, and they sort of strike up a friendship / romance in the store. And then there's some shenanigans with the robbery with two brothers played by Kieran and Dermot Mulroney. But also has a really great supporting cast that I won't go into at this time. But yeah, so this is a cool inclusion in this set. Here, I'll break out the actual set itself, the Blu-rays. So career opportunities, like I said, this was a big one on video in the 90s for a lot of people. And, it's just become sort of a cult item over time. What's neat about this set is it includes a new commentary by director Brian Gordon, which they didn't get for the Kino release. The Kino release has a nice commentary from Chicago Critics Film Festival producer Eric Childress, which I did enjoy, and which I enjoy that he goes through and points out every song on the soundtrack that plays and who's doing it. That's a feature that I wish more commentaries did. But the Brian Gordon commentary, despite him, being having a little trouble remembering some stuff back then, because it is 30 years ago for him, it's still neat to hear what he can recall. And the commentary is moderated by Jillian Horvat, and she does a nice job. They mention even just like things at the top, like the credits done by Pablo Ferro, a guy I didn't know really about. And I love the credits of this movie, but he also did credits for things like Dr. Strangelove, Bullet, Clockwork Orange, Harold and Maude, Stop Making Sense, To Live and Die in L.A., Prince of Darkness, Pump Up the Volume. So really nice titles, right out of the gate. And, they go into a lot of different discussions about the film, its screwball comedy nature. It's kind of a 30s throwback in a way. It feels like something that could have been made back then in some respects. They talk quite a bit about Brian Gordon's short Ray's Heterosexual Dance Hall that got him this gig, and it sort of was his entree to the industry. I think that's on YouTube if you want to watch it. But overall, I enjoyed the commentary. It was really neat to hear Brian Gordon remembering things about casting, remembering about working with John Candy and this or that. And so very solid to have that. It then includes a new interview called Interior Night, and it's director of photography Donald McAlpine on filming career opportunities. And he's, I believe, Australian, and he started with like Bruce Beresford and did like Breaker Morant and My Brilliant Career, and then came to the States and did The Tempest with Paul Mazursky and took off from there, and was a great DP for first-time directors, and I think really helped Brian Gordon with this film. He goes into that a little bit. It's about a 10.5 minute interview, and then most entertaining on this disc is an interview with, it's a new one, a Crafting Criminals interview with Dermot and Kieran Mulroney, and they, of course, brothers. Dermot being the older of the two. They're very amusing in their recollections. It's about a 16-minute interview. Very amusing in their recollections of starting out in acting, and a great anecdote about a bet they made about, I won't go into it, but you listen to the interview and you'll find out about this bet, a $100 bet, and what it was about. And yeah, it just goes into their acting and then specific memories of this film, but they're having a lot of fun the whole time. And so it was just really great to see the two of them together. I really enjoyed it. So a really nice career opportunities release. Not a new scan as far as I can, well, it says from a 2K scan, but I'm assuming it's probably the same scan as this Kino disc, but really enjoyed seeing that. And then we have some non-comedy releases in Waking the Dead from 2000, And this is from director Keith Gordon, actor-director. Of course, he was in Jaws 2 and Christine, and became quite a good director in his own right. Made a bunch of great TV and films, and this is one of his better films, I think, for sure. Although I can't think of a bad film that he made. Midnight Clear is great. Chocolate War is really solid. He's Mother Night. He really did a lot of good movies. This is a 1080p presentation from a 2K scan. And let me talk about the movie. It's Connelly starring alongside Billy Crudup in a drama based on the novel of the same name by Scott Spencer. And the basic idea of the novel is that we are starting in 1974 with Fielding Pierce, Billy Crudup's character, seeing on the news that his girlfriend, lover, Sarah Williams, has been killed in a car bombing related to some Chilean refugees and her involvement in that, and he is devastated. We then flash back to 1972 when they first met at his hippie brother's publishing company, and they hit it off right away. And then we jump forward to 1982 when he's being offered. He's in the Coast Guard in 72, but he's talking about wanting to be the president. And so we find out that he becomes an attorney and then works for the county prosecutor or something. And in 82, he's being offered a chance to go from county prosecutor to the United States Congress, which is, his dream. And as his campaign gets underway, he's involved with Hal Holbrook, plays one of the guys that's helping him. He starts to see Jennifer Connelly's character around the city, and it's unclear if he's going crazy or what's happening to him. And so then we just sort of bounce back and forth between 1973 and 83 as we remember Sarah and see kind of how their relationship was headed in a maybe less than healthy direction, or just they sort of had conflicts in terms of he wants to be part of an establishment that she despises, rightfully, and the corruption therein. So it's a really moving story. It's a great performance by both Connelly and Crudup, and definitely something I feel like Keith Gordon put a lot into. And so you have an audio commentary by Keith Gordon. You have a new audio commentary by Bilge Ebiri. That's great to have. New something called the Sum Total of Change, a new interview with Keith Gordon, and then you have a new interview with actor Billy Crudup, desperately clinging to utopian ideals. So you got Keith Gordon and Crudup involved in this release. I love to have them both here. And looking back, 23 years later, this film came out in 2000. Archival making of featurette, deleted scenes with optional commentary. So a really nice special edition release of this film. I think this has been out on Blu-ray, but not in quite this special edition of form. So that's a nice one to have in this set. Then we have, lastly, I should mention we have a nice book that's included with some essays, multiple essays, but it's a really nice bound, not a booklet really, it's kind of a bound book. So that's really cool. I don't think the Peppard had that in it, so that's an extra that you get with just this one. So this one, it's from 2003, and it says an Iranian colonel forced to flee the life he once knew pours the remainder of his life savings into the purchase of a house that he believes will at last bring back his family's prosperity. But a bureaucratic bungle has left the original owner, recovering drug addict Kathy Nicolo, that's Jennifer Connelly, unjustly evicted. And it's based on the novel of the same name by Andre Dubus III. This critically acclaimed drama was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, including Best Actor for Ben Kingsley and Best Supporting for actress Shohreh Aghdashloo. I remember this being a big deal at the time. I think I saw it back then. I don't remember it too well. This is a 1080p definition presentation from a 2K scan. It doesn't say when it was done. Audio commentary with actors Ben Kingsley, director Vadim Perelman, and novelist Andre Dubus III. A new featurette, When the Fog Clears, director Vadim Perelman. 20 years later, Building the House, editor Lisa Zeno Churgin on the House of Sand and Fog, and Finding Nadia, conversation with actress Shohreh Aghdashloo. One slight disappointment I must voice with this is that Peppard's not alive. You can't get him to talk about anything, but we don't have any new features featuring the featured actor. So nothing new with Jennifer Connelly. In fact, I don't think she's included in maybe she's included in an archival interview in Waking the Dead. I can't recall, but that's a little bit of a bummer. If you're going to do this, it would seem like a cool thing to get her involved. So that's slightly disappointing. But that said, deleted scenes with optional commentary, behind the scenes archival footage, featurette also included. That probably has an interview with her. But again, I still like the idea that we're doing these actor-centric box sets, Like I really want that Gene Hackman set at some point. That's a good one. Even though I have some of those movies on Blu-ray, that is the tricky part, is that with some of these sets, you're getting movies that have already been released in some other format by someone else. So anyway, a few more to go here. We have Searching for Bobby Fischer. This one from 1993. And, of course, this is about the chess prodigy. It says Josh Waitzkin is a typical 7-year-old who happens to be a chess prodigy. His father, a sports writer, is determined to see his son become a champion. Searching for Bobby Fischer is about the heartwarming journey of discovery as a father and son soon learn the one thing that neither can afford to lose, their love for each other. This is a worldwide Blu-ray debut, apparently. A biographical drama based on the life of prodigy chess player Joshua Waitzkin and the book of the same name by his father, Fred Waitzkin. All-star cast including Joe Mantegna, Lawrence Fishburne, Joan Allen, Max Pomeranc, Ben Kingsley again, William H. Macy, directed by Academy Award-winning writer of Schindler's List, Moneyball, and The Irishman, Steven Zaillian. Nominated for Academy Awards for cinematography. 100% score on Rotten Tomatoes, apparently. So this is a Blu-ray presentation from a 2K scan, new audio commentary by film historian Scott Harrison, new featurette, Maybe It's Better Not to Win, scoring Searching for Bobby Fischer featurette with the composer, and then archival interview with director Steven Zaillian and chess author Bruce Pandolfini, archival interviews with actors Joan Allen, Ben Kingsley, Lawrence Fishburne, archival interview with actor prodigy chess player Max Pomeranc and Josh Waitzkin. So you get real guys, real chess players spoken to. So that's cool. I haven't seen this in years. Excited to revisit this one, especially in its Blu-ray debut. And I like it when Imprint can have those. Next up we have Mrs. Parker and the Vicious Circle. And this one is from 1994, so just the next year. And it stars the great Jennifer Jason Leigh. Dorothy Parker remembers the heyday of the Algonquin Round Table, a circle of friends whose barbed wit, like hers, was fueled by alcohol and flirted with despair. Featuring an all-star cast including Jennifer Jason Leigh, Campbell Scott, Matthew Broderick, Peter Gallagher, Jennifer Beals, Andrew McCarthy, Wallace Shawn, Gwyneth Paltrow, Heather Graham, Stephen Baldwin, and Stanley Tucci. Forgot how good this cast is. I don't know if I've seen this movie. I'm not 100% sure about it. From the director of Mortal Thoughts, Alan Rudolph. I love that they say from the director of Mortal Thoughts. Of course, that's the movie they put out as part of their neo-noir set too. But Alan Rudolph did a bunch of other movies, including Choose Me. He did Remember My Name. Some really great 70s and 80s dramas that I absolutely love. So that's another reason I'm excited to watch it if I haven't seen it, and I don't know if I have. So it sounds right up my alley. He also did one called The Moderns, which seems like a Parisian, it's set in Paris if I recall, sort of a similar time period / vibe to this. So I definitely need to check this out. This includes a 1080p presentation from a Blu-ray's 2K scan. It doesn't say that it's a debut. Audio commentary with Alan Rudolph. New featurette, Playing Real People. Interview with actor Campbell Scott. Very cool. Another featurette, Reflection of a Reflection. Interview with director, co-writer Alan Rudolph. Excellent. Casting Human Complexities. Interview with casting director Pam Dixon. These are all from 2023. And Would You Kindly Direct Me to Hell, the infamous Dorothy Parker documentary, also included here, as well as an interview with composer Mark Isham and an archival interview with Alan Rudolph. So really nice Alan Rudolph-based release here that I'm excited to check out. This may be a discovery for me, actually. And lastly, we have from Imprint Television, we have The Martian Chronicles with Rock Hudson. And this one is based, based on the Ray Bradbury iconic book of the same name, but it's a television series, and this collection contains all 3 feature-length episodes from director of Around the World in 80 Days and Logan's Run, Michael Anderson. This came out in 1980, I believe. I want to say 1980. Earth is on the verge of extinction. Rather, to survive, mankind must find another place to live. When 3 expeditions to Mars headed by Colonel John Wilder, I believe that's Rock Hudson, find suitable conditions for relocations, humans pour in by the shipload, bringing the old evils of Earth with them. As Wilder begins to heed the lessons of the dying Martian civilization, can he save humanity from repeating its own doom? Based on the beloved author Ray Bradbury's iconic book, Martian Chronicles stars Rock Hudson, joined by star-studded cast including Darren McGavin, Bernadette Peters, Roddy McDowall, Fritz Weaver, Barry Morris, and Maria Schell. And this is not a worldwide Blu-ray debut, but it is a Blu-ray debut for Australia. And it is a better Blu-ray than the Kino, which I have here. This came out in a nice slipcase, but better, it's up to your debate. But there's only, as far as features, an interview with actor James Faulkner included on this as an extra. And this set is a 2-disc set, and it includes like all the episodes, if you will, feature-length episodes. But it also includes new audio commentary by film historian Gary Girani on all 3 parts, new interview with special effects and makeup artist Colin Arthur, new interview with special effects sculptor Brian Muir, and new interview with composer Richard Harvey, as well as something called Ray Bradbury, an American Icon. It's a feature documentary profile of the science fiction novelist and playwright, narrated by Rod Steiger. So that's a pretty great stacked group of extras that were not included in the Kino Blu-ray. So you may want to consider picking this up if you are a big fan of this show, or Ray Bradbury in general, or Rock Hudson. But that will do it for this round of Imprint Films. It's been a lengthy one. Thank you for sticking with me. There's always a lot of interesting stuff to talk about with the good folks at Imprint Films. Look up Imprint Films on Google. It will take you to the ViaVision website, and you can check out all their monthly bundles, both past and upcoming, and see what's selling fast and what you should keep an eye on. You can also order these from importcds.com. Diabolic DVD often has them. Orbit DVD, or even Amazon. You can get them there as well. So they don't necessarily need to be imported from Australia straight up. And again, they are region free. So check them out. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.